through the silent stone walls of Windsor, where every corner whispers of coronations, betrayals, and carefully rehearsed rituals, something unprecedented is about to happen. The centuries-old script of royal life, recited like sacred theater generation after generation, will be broken by a single funeral. For the first time since the 17th century, Catholic prayers, the very words once feared as weapons of treason, will echo over the coffin of a Windsor. It is a scene few dared to imagine, and yet it has been set in motion not by a king or queen, not by some revolutionary, but by a duchess who lived most of her life in deliberate obscurity. Catherine, Duchess of Kent, aged 92, has left behind a request so modest and so staggering that it now rattles the foundations of monarchy itself. She demanded a Catholic requiem. For more than 300 years the monarchy wore Protestantism like armor. It was more than religion, it was survival. After the Glorious Revolution of 1688, when James II, a Catholic king, was driven from the throne, the laws of England were written to ensure that never again would Rome claim influence over the crown. The Act of Settlement of 1701 was merciless. No Catholic could ever sit on the throne, nor could an heir who married one. It was not a boundary of faith alone, but of loyalty, identity, even national pride. To be monarch was to be Protestant, and to embrace Catholicism was to invite suspicion, whispers of betrayal, memories of plots and exiles. That wall stood unshaken through wars, abdications, scandals, and centuries of change. Until Catherine. When Kensington Palace announced her death, the statement was wrapped in familiar phrases of dignity. It spoke of peace, of family at her side, of a life lived with quiet grace. But the truth hiding beneath the respectful prose was incendiary. Her funeral would not follow Anglican liturgy. She had chosen Rome, and Rome she shall have. What the palace tried to frame as routine immediately became a storm. For Catherine's farewell is not merely a private matter of faith. It is a crack in the image of royal eternity. Her life gave little hint of such an ending. Born outside the dynasty, she entered through marriage, becoming wife to Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, cousin to Queen Elizabeth II. She was no social climber, no figure-chasing headlines. She shrank from the glitter of balcony appearances, avoided the noise of court gossip, and lived with an unusual modesty. She supported charities, involved herself in the arts, and most strikingly taught music in state schools under the simple name of Mrs. Kent. Children sat at her piano never realizing their teacher carried a royal title. Service for Catherine was never spectacle. It was the unnoticed gift of time and devotion. But humility is not the same as irrelevance. In 1994 she took a step that reverberated across centuries. She converted to Catholicism, the first member of the royal family to do so in more than 300 years. For most of Britain the headline passed quickly, a curiosity in the daily press. But for historians, it was a tremor in the very foundations of monarchy. The enemy faith had entered the palace not by conquest or scandal, but by conviction. To grasp why this mattered so deeply, one must look into the blood-soaked roots of England's history. Once England was proudly Catholic. Kings built abbeys in devotion to Rome. Queens prayed to the Pope for blessings. Saints were canonized with papal approval. But all of that was shattered by Henry VIII, whose desperate quest for an heir and refusal to accept papal authority tore England away from Rome. It was not a simple act of divorce, it was a revolution of survival. From then on, the crown and Catholicism became mortal enemies. Elizabeth I treated Catholics as conspirators, James I saw danger in every mass, and the Gunpowder Plot of 1605 branded Catholicism as treachery incarnate. When James II tried to rule as a Catholic king, his reign collapsed in exile and disgrace, leaving behind the unyielding command. The throne would forever belong to Protestants. For centuries the law did its work. Heirs were cut off if they married Catholics. Candidates vanished from succession for their choice of spouse. Even as Britain modernized, even as monarchy bent to the storms of scandal and divorce, this rule remained the one immovable stone. And yet Catherine, far from succession, dared to cross it. Not in rebellion but in faith. She said simply that she liked the clarity of Catholicism, the structure, the certainty. She longed to know what was expected of her. To be told to go to church on Sunday and to obey. It was not defiance. It was hunger for order. And yet in Windsor the private becomes public, the personal becomes historic. Now that private faith is about to change royal ritual. Her requiem will be the first Catholic funeral for a Windsor in 3 centuries. The scene will be watched by millions, not simply as a farewell but as a test. Can a monarchy whose very identity was forged in opposition to Rome now bend, even slightly, to the will of one woman? At the heart of this drama stands King Charles III. For him it is personal. Catherine was not a political problem but a relative he respected, a woman he admired for her discretion. Yet as monarch, he is the supreme governor of the Church of England, defender of Protestant faith, sworn protector of Anglican tradition. Allowing her Catholic requiem is an act of compassion, but also a symbolic surrender. For progressives it proves the monarchy can adapt, reflecting the diversity of the nation it serves. For traditionalists it feels like erosion, the beginning of a dangerous softening. And Charles, caught between personal love and institutional duty, must walk the line as carefully as any king before him. Inside the family, Catherine's passing is felt in quieter tones. She was not the face of balcony parades, not the star of gossip columns, but she was respected for her principle. Her marriage to the Duke of Kent endured. Her devotion to music defined her. Her humility was genuine. Yet her conversion became her defining mark. And in her final wish she refused to yield. She wanted a Catholic requiem, and she shall have it. The arrangements are not mere protocol. They are love, respect, and acknowledgement of individuality in a dynasty that too often buries personality beneath duty. This funeral will not change the law. The monarch must remain Protestant. The heirs to the throne must not convert. The act of settlement still stands. But in perception the effect is seismic. History has shown how personal choices can scar the crown. Edward VIII's abdication in 1936 shattered the monarchy for love of Wallis Simpson. Catherine's choice will not cause abdication or exile, but it forces the monarchy to stretch its boundaries. And stretching for some looks like resilience, for others like weakness. When the requiem begins, it will not only honor Catherine, it will echo through centuries of fear, suspicion, and defiance. For the first time since England drove out a Catholic king, a Windsor will lie beneath Rome's blessing. That sound rising inside Windsor's sacred walls will be more than music. It will be history breaking its own silence. Her life was not defined by glitter or power, but by service, by conviction, by faith. And now her death is defined by courage. Catherine leaves behind more than memory. She leaves a reminder carved into the monarchy itself, that even in the world's most rigid institution, conscience cannot be silenced. She chose clarity over conformity, conviction over compromise. And with that choice, she forces the monarchy to confront its past and reconsider its future. The crown has survived wars, revolutions, abdications, and disgrace. It will survive this too, but it will not emerge unchanged. Catherine's requiem is both farewell and prophecy. It whispers that even in Windsor, where tradition seems eternal, there will always be cracks in the stone. Cracks through which the light of individuality and conscience will shine, no matter how many centuries of silence lie behind them.